Now we're moving to the other side of the screen as we enter Players Round, where we discuss things that affect the players. Now, I've been playing in another game, and
Have you?
yeah, well, obviously, yeah, I play in quite a few games, and I
Oh.
run a few,
Right.
but I've been feeling the character I've been playing has reached a natural conclusion.
Oh.
He had his big story moment, and ever since, he's not really been doing anything other than just sort of existing.
Following around. Yeah.
And exactly, and I started to approach the conversation with the DM about the possibility of retiring this character.
That's forbidden. It's not.
It seems to be the way.
Well, it's not in the player's handbook. There's nothing about retiring a character in the player's handbook.
But this is the thing, it got me thinking about retiring characters, because this wouldn't be the first time I've retired a character. And it's a difficult decision to make, because are you getting rid of them permanently? Are you getting rid of them temporarily? And what I wanted to do today is just kind of like, with each of us, maybe tell a story on a character that we've retired and why.
Oh.
So if anyone out there is thinking that maybe the character isn't doing what they want to, it's not a bad thing to suddenly feel like your character's reached a natural end, because it's easy to sit there and play all the way to level 20, but if this character isn't doing it for you, there is a chance that you can let them go.
You're absolutely right.
So
Who are you choosing?
I'm going to start. Well, I mean, Dan was just doing the last segment, so let's start with you, Anton.
Okay.
Have you ever retired a character, and why?
So I have. Don't tell anyone, but it's happened. And it was in the Cormier Echoes of War campaign that we are currently playing. I started out the campaign with Magnus, my war
Magnus?
wizard, and we played multiple sessions with Magnus, part of the group. Everything was going swimmingly until there was a point towards the end of one of the major arcs of the campaign where Dan essentially had us vote for the fate of the kingdom. We had to choose, would we side with the current queen of Cormier and keep her on the throne, or would we choose her uncle, who would take Cormier down a different path? And we had to vote individually as players. And most of the group actually voted to supplant the queen and go with her uncle.
Only because I didn't realise, no choice was also a choice.
Yeah, true. And I just thought, well, hold on a minute. My character was a soldier. He fought for Cormier. He fought for Raedra, who was his queen. He has that loyalty. And I just went, I'm actually going to go a different route. I'm actually going to vote for the queen and vote against the party. And I could have continued on playing the character, and I just went, no, actually, this is a good spot for me to retire Magnus. And because I felt like they should be a division and tension in the party at that point. And that's why I put Magnus aside and said, no, he's going to follow the queen and go and on those adventures. And since then, he's reappeared as an NPC in the campaign.
Yeah.
And that felt like a natural progression for the character. Dan, I don't know how you felt about it. When did it come as a shock when I made that choice?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it was a shock for all of us. But in hindsight, taking a step back, that was the icing on the cake, wasn't it? That this decision was breaking up some of the Warhounds. And I think it worked really, really well, because it gave a lot of kind of gravitas to that plot point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it did.
Like that, oh no, like Magnus is leaving.
Yeah.
Does this make him our enemy?
Mm.
Like, it was that, because that was kind of an idea. Like, oh, we're friends, but now we're on opposite sides of this gulf.
And I was very conscious of that when I was making that choice. I was like, this is going to be so great for the DM and for the players as well, because it's going to create a lot of RP potential on, like, are we on the right side? Are we on the good side? It just, otherwise it can feel like you're just following the campaign along without any, climactic moments. And I felt that was a climactic moment.
Yeah. And then you took that wizard cleric, you retired him, and then really smashed it out the park by replacing him with a cleric wizard.
No, Balthazar is a cleric druid actually.
Oh, of
He's an
course. Yeah.
Arcana
Is it?
cleric.
Oh.
Yeah, he's an Arcana cleric druid.
Oh, right. A wizard
course,
cleric
yeah,
druid.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, kind of like a wizard cleric druid essentially is the concept. So that felt for me like a natural spot to retire that character in the story, and I felt I was slightly worried the party wouldn't take it well, or that it wouldn't be respectful enough. Carl, I don't know how you saw that.
I mean, I thought it was a really bold move, and I was really excited to find out that obviously, yeah, you were retiring Magnus for that, and you know, my character would have been okay with it right up until the point she found out you lied to your parents about your death. So, you know, it's all fine until that moment, and
That's the
there
end,
is
that's
now
great.
there is now a bit of a combative relationship between characters. But no, I thought it was a great move. It worked in the terms of the story, and it seemed natural. It also, for me, it was odd because I didn't think you were at an end with Magnus's story. So when you did retire it for story elements, I thought it was a really bold move.
It's interesting because that is almost like a textbook definition of what we were talking about last month. That was a positive. It's what my character would do.
Yeah,
and
yeah. there was a
everyone,
bit of
like,
that.
no one. Obviously, the players were upset, but no one challenged it on a "What on earth are you doing?" Like, they all kind of went, "Oh yeah, oh
That makes sense.
yeah."
It did make sense, yeah.
Awesome. So, Carl, have you retired a character?
I have.
Okay.
Twice, in fact.
Ooh.
The same character.
Yeah.
Twice.
Oh, you're a repeat offender then.
I am a repeat offender, yes. So, you know, actually, I mean, in several campaigns I've retired people, but for different reasons. But the first one I ever did was, you know, group is obviously my first ever character I played. I think we saved a small town from a horde of orcs who wanted to destroy it. Obviously, they linked in later to group story, so they were part of a thing. But once all seven's done, the village was damaged, and group felt guilty because these were, you know, his people who'd done it. So I decided that group would stay in this village to help them rebuild. The main reason I sort of made that choice was a bit sort of selfish because Warforged had just come out 4th edition. I kind of wanted to play a Warforged, but I felt it was a really good reason for group to stay because it wasn't a full stop for group. It was just a comma on his sentence. It's like, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to fix things up. You know, I'm going to show them that, you know, orcs aren't bad. We're actually like good people. These people are misguided.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then, obviously, eventually, Alexander retires because for me, there were other reasons why it wasn't really working, but it felt a good time to bring group back. And then we pushed the main story. The second time I retired group is at the end of his arc, where he basically unites the orcish tribes.
Okay.
And becomes the chieftain. It made no sense for him to become the chieftain and be like, "Well, I am gone now, goodbye!"
Bye-bye.
You know, exactly. So instead it was, group made the hard choice to stay behind.
Okay.
And look after his people. And for me, I didn't want to retire group, but in the sense of the story, I couldn't justify him leaving because he just fought tooth and nail to unite these tribes. They had a massive war and everything, and he helped them become something more than what they were. If he had just left, it would have just felt like a, you know.
So that was quite similar example to what Magnus
exactly.
had. It's
yes.
like, it doesn't make sense for the character, and therefore that's what they're going to do.
And my wife Tilda's done something similar with a character where a big story element changed their character in such a significant way that she saw there was no chance to keep playing the character because to keep playing the character would just undo everything they've just done. So she decided that she would retire this character. They would go off on their way and she'd bring in someone new. Not because she wanted to, but because the story had made it a point where she's like, yeah, that's what my character would do. Dan.
So, I mean, because I am cursed as a forever DM, yeah, I've not had that many opportunities to retire characters, but one stands out, and it's the Prince of the Apocalypse campaign that Anton and I played in. So I did actually start off as a player for that group.
Yeah.
My character was a dwarf librarian. So he was
Mhm.
Oh, that's right.
he was the scholar of a
Yep.
keep, but he there was a great disgrace that fell upon him, so he put himself into exile and became a bit of a bare-chested berserker, but still holding all of those those ties of honor and so on and so forth. The intro to the campaign was Keep on the Shadowfell, which is normally a 4th edition, but was moved across the 5th. We went through this dungeon. There was a necromancer at the end of it who was opening a portal to Orcus's living room and trying to invite the demon prince of undeath through into Faerun. Obviously, we didn't want that, and the bless him, the final combat wasn't balanced. It was not a balanced combat.
It's slightly overcooked, yeah.
It's like, yeah, a little bit overcooked. But there came a point where we realized everything was hinging on this necromancer, not the waves and waves of undead that were swarming us. So, with one look at this ragtag group of hopefuls that he found himself surrounded with, Algrim the dwarf, with the help of this wandering half-orc barbarian that had just turned up called Groot,
Dimensional hopping.
They tag teamed this necromancer, effectively grabbing a leg each. But one grabbed the legs, while the other grabbed the arms, and in a display of self-sacrifice, Algrim threw himself through this portal to the domain of Orcus with the necromancer, with the express expectation that it would kill him.
Yeah,
that was again, it was it's what my character would do. But before he did it, he ceremoniously gave his axes to the bard and made her promise that she'd say a few words at his grave and so on and so forth. And then he did what he took on that role of protector by paying the ultimate sacrifice. And with that, he was dead. That was it.
I can't remember. Did you do that with the knowledge that you were going to be DMing after that, or was that without it? Oh, you didn't.
So at that point, I then replaced. I started a new character who was another Meridius.
You did play Mary for a bit, yeah.
And then, in the end, I was able to. Well, I became the DM for that campaign after. But I think that's actually the only time I've actually kind of retired a character before like the end of a campaign. Every other game, I've kind of played a character through to the end, if there's been an end.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was just this overwhelming sense of like I remember looking at the map with all the models, looking at the DM, looking at everyone else because everyone was panicking, and it was one of those moments. But yeah, I love that I took that decision. I did it knowing that I probably wouldn't be getting the character back, and I wanted it to hold a lot of weight. And yeah, I think it worked quite well. Spoilers: he came back to life because I was DM. So
As like a revenant, yeah.
yeah.
Can I give you an example of how not to retire a character? Shall I?
Yeah, go on, Anton. How do you not retire a character?
I think we probably discussed this. You're right, Carl.
We have, yeah.
But this is how you don't retire a character. So in this same campaign, I had a character called Lesfm who was a elf fighter or something, Eldritch Knight, and so Algrim jumps into the portal with the necromancer and to go fight Orcus, and Lesfm, my character, goes, "Well, that sounds great," and jumps in after him into the domain of Orcus.
Yep.
Now, it was kind of RP. It wasn't. Like, I was, by the way, this was like my 5th D&D session, so like early. It was purely because I was tired of playing Lesfm. I don't think I built the character correctly. It wasn't doing what I wanted. It just wasn't working on multiple levels. So basically, I just killed him off. I don't know. You guys tell me. I don't know if it's fair to purposefully sacrifice a character just because you're tired of playing them. Like, is that a dick move? Can you do it? Is it legitimate? I think there's a better way of doing it, but you tell me.
You can retire your character any way you see fit. But I think if you're not enjoying a character, and this is why I kind of wanted to bring up this topic, because there may be people in the same boat. They've got a character they've built, they don't like them very much. They should have listened to BYOB.
Great build.
They don't like them very much, and they don't know what to do with them. They don't want to quit the game, but they also know they're not having fun. If you see the story moment, you could obviously surprise your DM, or if you want it to be a bit more, break the narrative, so to speak, or, you can talk to them and be like, look, this character isn't working for me, I don't want to just let them go. Can we do something cool with them? Maybe the DM can plan an encounter where the character meets her untimely demise, but has that last heroic moment or something to pull them away.
I think that, the conversation with, for example, the DM should always be on the table. On more than one occasion, I've had a player come to me to say, I'm just not gelling with the character, or something doesn't feel right anymore. I'm just not having fun with this character. And arguably everyone around the table is invested in all of the characters at the table, right? So for you to go, I'm not having fun, I'm just going to yeet my character off from oblivion. We had one player in our 4th edition campaign. We had gotten a considerable way through the adventure, and she came to me and said that she had some concerns about the character. She just wasn't really feeling it anymore. So I asked her, what would you find exciting? In 4th edition, there was a shaman, which was like a nature style cleric-y kind of pet class type thing. And she said, I've been playing Skyrim a lot, just to date it. I've been playing Skyrim a lot, and I've been really enjoying this 2-sword.
Well, does it date it with the amount of times they've brought Skyrim back out?
And off the back of that conversation, rather than retiring her shaman, who was she was an original character, everyone really liked that character, we just went, cool, why don't we just change her to a ranger? Change her class. We'll weave that into the narrative. We'll make a thing of it. And then she absolutely loved it after that point.
She was devastating. Her character was devastating.
And I think restarting or rebuilding a character is much better than purposefully killing them off.
Yeah.
Quick one. What about repeat offenders? Someone who consistently retires character. Let's call it more than 3 times in a campaign.
It's alt-holicism, where you just want to keep playing. Yeah, which again, this kind of brings me back to why I sort of brought this one up, because this is probably the second time in this character that I'm originally talking about have wanted to retire them, because the first time they were I was kind of excited by a build, so they put it down to alt-holicism. Was like, why don't you just stick with it, maybe? But no, it is a general boredom of the character. If someone is coming to every game they've just released this kind of class, I want to now play this class. Oh wait, actually I'm not having fun. I want to play this class. And it's more of a DM's table topic, but you do have to know when to say no to someone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as this is the players' round, you've got to ask yourself, why do you want to keep playing these different classes? Why are you not happy with this one particular?
I think if you find yourself grass hopping between different classes or whatever, I think that's kind of indicative of the fact that you don't actually like the characters that you're making, or you haven't done enough to create a living, breathing person that you can embody. Because if you're saying, going forward, I'm about to play in a Wild Beyond the Witchlight, I'm much more likely to want to grass hop to another class if I think, I'm a bit bored of my artificer artillerist, instead of, if I instead think of that character as Sprock, this down on his luck, grumpy goblin who has had his Eureka stolen by Trixie Faye. If, Sprock is unique, Artificer is not. So, and Sprock is something that I can evolve. That goblin can go places. So by having the love in that rather than the class or the words on the paper, I think that really kind of helps class retention with character
And
attention.
if you want to play multiple characters, just be the DM.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. That I think that is a good thing. If you do have alcoholicism, maybe think about DMing
Yes.
because that is a good way of solving it. And I think for me as well, one point when I was getting to that stage where I was like, I wasn't enjoying this character. I was trying to build many characters, and in the end, I was like, actually, would you guys be interested in me running a game for you all instead? I think that's how we ended up getting to our Neverwinter campaign.
yeah. I think this is maybe a little bit controversial, but I know, and it won't be advice for everyone. I know of a number of players who've had their characters die, and then they've decided to play a new character that is a carbon copy of the original.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at that point, like if that's where you want to go, then maybe sort out with your DM the possibility of a resurrection, for example, or something. I don't know, but
The reborn lineage.
I mean, but I feel there does come a point where, like, if your character dies, which is, that's another way of retiring your character. You may not have planned for. I'll admit, but it's a good opportunity to try something else. Like I relish the idea of every time I go into a campaign playing a class I've not played before, because there might be something that I really like that I just wouldn't know until I try it. But if you play a human fighter who dies and you swap them out for a human fighter, like sure, the human fighter may be your jam, but maybe elf wizard is also your jam, and you're not giving yourself the opportunity to know it because you're not retiring the character concept.
Yeah.
True.
Well, I think with this one, the point I wanted to sort of try and get today is to help people make that decision. If you're sitting there and suffering in silence with your character, and it's happened. I mean, I'm an example, but I am talking to my DM, and hopefully I'll be able to come to some sort of consensus with him. But if you are sitting there in silence, don't. Your character is yours to do with as you please. And, as long as you can find a way to have fun, retiring a character is a very viable way to go. Be it a big story moment where you become the chieftain of your own tribe, or you chuck yourself into a portal after your friend heroically sacrifices themselves.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Your character story is yours to weave. So weave it the way you want to weave it. And with that, let's move into happy hour. Thanks for watching. We release segments like this from the Tavern Between Dimensions every Friday here on the Explorers of Elsewhere channel. Otherwise, if you want to listen to the episode in full, you can check us out on Spotify and Amazon Music.